If I lost every pound of muscle that I built over the past 2 years of lifting and had to start all over again, these are the top 5 lessons I would carry to build it all back and without wasting all the time that I did in the first place. And surprisingly, the first lesson is that I would stop searching for the right workout split. When I came into lifting, I would always be searching for the best workout split, the most optimal workout split. I'd be watching all these like Jeff Nippard videos, Mike Israetel videos, and just doing research and stuff online of trying to find the workout split that gives the best results and will build the most muscle. But in the end, I actually sacrificed my experience in the gym and sacrificed my growth, because one of the biggest things that I've learned is making the gym an experience worth returning to is just as important as having a good workout split. And that is because consistency and longevity in the gym is more important than actually doing the right exercise, than actually doing the right split and hitting the muscle the right frequent amount of time. And there's a principle that I want to bring up, in that it's progress equals quality of work times consistency. And if you're constantly searching for the right workout split and you're not sticking to it, you're not being consistent with that workout split, and you're also not having fun with that, you're not going to have an experience worth returning to, which means in the long term, your consistency is not going to be there. And anything multiplied by 0 is 0. So even if your quality of work is 100%, if your long-term consistency is not there, your progress will be 0. And that leads me into the next thing, and that it's the differences between exercises that you see don't matter that much. Again, I would always be trying to find the right exercises, the most optimal things to do. And I'd be watching like Jeff Nippard ranked exercise videos. I've watched so many of those. But in reality, 99% of exercises in the gym, most machines and everything, the difference between them and the results they give is not significant. So it doesn't really matter as long as there's good range of motion. And also, next biggest thing when it comes to exercises is the exercise's ability to progressively overload. Because if you aren't able to progress on the exercise, you aren't able to add weight very, very well without being kind of disruptive, it's probably not the best exercise. But again, you can still kind of force that through, which isn't a problem. And most exercises, again, are pretty easy to progressive overload. Again, the differences between these exercises don't matter that much. And I want to bring it back to the first point that I made, is of enjoyment. And if you're doing exercises that you don't enjoy progressing on, they aren't exercises you want to do, and you feel like they aren't exercises that you feel are giving you good results, it's probably not an exercise you want to do, because it's a reason for you not to come back to the gym. And if you're a bit confused on the structuring of this kind of stuff, I just want to mention I've made in like a note document a couple free programs. One of them is my workout program that I use, and it's completely free. You can you can copy them if you want, or you can take inspiration from them, just to kind of understand the way that workout splits are set up, exercises to do, and on those. On like the workout splits themselves, I list off the exercises that I do, but I also give alternates. I give alternates of exercises that, if I couldn't do the first option, it was being taken or something, or I want to do something else, I would do those alternates, which will yield the same results basically. And even the best program out there in practice and on paper doesn't matter unless you follow the second point. So that leads me into saying I'd stop trying to optimize my workouts. So you're probably wondering, what that means and how that relates to what I was talking about before, because it seems kind of redundant. Let me explain. I want to bring back the principle of progress equals quality of work times consistency. And again, if consistency equals 0, progress will be 0. But the other aspect of that, quality of work. The most important thing when it comes to that quality of work is you're training hard, is that you're pushing yourself in the gym. Because if you aren't pushing yourself, you aren't giving your body a reason to grow. You don't have to go to absolute failure every single set, because again, that can be very fatiguing. It can take away from the overall workout and your overall recovery. But still, training hard is the most important thing when it comes to your quality of work, because if you're not pushing yourself, you're not giving your body a reason to adapt. And something that is also super positive about pushing yourself really hard and training hard is that if you're training hard, you're basically guaranteeing that you will be progressive overloading, because no matter what, your muscles are going to be getting stronger if you're pushing yourself. And if you're adding weight, you're already progressive overloading, which everyone already knows is one of the most important parts of lifting. So again, training hard is the most important part of that first aspect of the equation of your quality of work. And speaking of progressive overload, that leads me into my third point, the third most important lesson that I learned. And that is, when I first started making progress, I cared so much about the weight on the bar. I'd be doing that with the intention of progressively overloading. But if I was actually trying to progressive overload, I would stop worrying about adding weight, because every single week I'd be so focused and so worried about adding more weight to the bar. I've said weight a lot of times so far in the past 20 seconds, but whatever. So trying to force yourself to increase the weight to progressively overload, but you're sacrificing your form and again the quality of work, it's not worth it. The way to get around that is just by focusing on adding reps, right? Instead of worrying about the weight that you're doing, worry more so about the amount of reps that you want to add this week. So for example, you were doing machine overhead press, you had a plate and a 10 on each side last week, and you did 7 reps. This week, keep the same weight, but try to do 8 or 9 reps. That's just as much of progressive overload as if you were to add a 5 to each side of the machine. And that can be far more effective because again, it still shows you're getting stronger because you're doing more reps, which is progressive overload. And your reps can be more effective, your form can be better. But none of this matters if your recovery is not in place. And that leads me to the 4th lesson that I'd take with me if I had to start lifting all over from scratch, and that I'd take more rest days than everyone tells you to. I always thought that I should be chasing more work and being more disciplined every single week to get the most results. But recovery is just as important as your training. And common splits only give you 1 to 2 rest days a week, and that's completely fine. But when you first start out, you don't need to lift as many days as someone who's been lifting for years or decades. If you're constantly trying to chase more work and you're fatiguing your body and you're not letting your body recover as much as it should be, you're going to be sacrificing your consistency in the long term because you might get injured, you might stop enjoying the gym, you're going to get burnt out. But again, you're also going to be less recovered, so your muscles aren't able to actually build themselves. And when you're first starting out, you first come to the gym, especially if I started over in the gym with exactly where I was at the start, I would take more rest days than most splits told you to. I'd be taking 2, 3, 4 rest days a week. Again, lifting 3 days a week, that sounds absurd because everyone says, oh, you should hit each muscle 2 times a week. Oh, you should be resting this much. But when you're first starting out, your body adapts really fast, but it also could use more of that recovery. So you can focus on that quality of work and your consistency and the effort that you're putting into the gym. So now once you have a good program set up and you understand the right principles like I've covered in this video, one of the biggest things you need to understand, and this is the final point, this leads me to the 5th point of this video, is that don't major in the minor problems. Right? I used to worry so much about certain muscles that were lacking, or certain exercises I need to change, or certain critiques that I need to make to my training. And one of the biggest examples of that is that I would always be worried about my lacking muscles. I would be like, oh man, I need to give myself more weekly volume for my delts. Oh, I need to give myself more weekly volume for my back. But I kind of ignored that and I didn't really apply it that much. They ended up evening out a bit because when you first start lifting, sorry, my dog is pulled up right now. What's up, Toby? I'm recording the video. Yep. Looking back at the progress that I made, everything, all those muscles that I ended up worrying about that were lacking, that I thought I needed to change about, and that I thought I needed to change my program for, they ended up evening out a bit. Because when you first start lifting, you're gonna have these imbalances. You're gonna have these problems. You're like, oh man, like my shoulders are lacking more than my arms. My arms are kind of overpowering my shoulders. As time goes on, they're naturally just gonna even out because again, when you first start lifting, you have that beginner phase, your beginner gains, your newbie gains, which is what everyone has called it for years. After that, kind of starts catching up, and you start taking advantage of those newbie gains. Everything starts to even out a little more. So I wouldn't worry about these lacking muscle groups that you have or things that you think you need to focus on more. Just keep lifting, keep training hard, keep being consistent. Follow the principles I've laid out in this video. And this doesn't apply to only weak points, right? Trying to find the perfect exercise selection, trying to find the perfect rep range for yourself, messing with like how often you work out, how many rest days you have and stuff, just optimizing for just general things that everyone wants to optimize for these tiny things. Don't worry about it when you first start lifting because you don't need to major in these minor problems. These minor problems only become a problem 10 years into lifting, years into lifting, right? Like pro bodybuilders, people who are trying to become pro bodybuilders, yeah, they probably need to focus on these smaller things, but you're first starting out. Just worry about making the gym a place you want to turn to, keep training hard, follow the points of these videos, and again, don't major in the minor problems. Focus on the big things that are going to give you the most results, When you become more advanced, and after this video is far gone and doesn't even apply to you anymore, after you build a decent amount of muscle, that's when you can start majoring in the minor problems. I don't even major in the minor problems at all that much right now. I have a decent physique. I'm only 17. I have a long ways to go. Again, if I started over lifting, if I was just completely blank slate, these are the 5 most important lessons that I would carry with me to, build back the results that I have now and put in the work. I guarantee you will make a ton of progress. Just remember, progress equals quality of work times consistency. Focus on the big major things that are going to give you the most progress. Don't worry about the small things. Worry about the consistency, worry about training hard, pushing yourself, adding weight, reps every single week, improving that form. That's all I have for you, bro. I really hope this video helped. Tons of value in this. If you made it this far in the video, make sure you do all the YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell thing. Helps YouTube, get this video out to more people, helps my channel grow. More people will be finding the advice like this that they need. Hope this video helps. Hope you can take something from this video. Have a good one, bro.